Best wooden coaster in the world. That's a bold claim, as never before have there been more contenders for that title. But for nearly 4 decades, one ride in the middle of the Pennsylvania woods has been quietly collecting trophies, fan loyalty, and a reputation that has earned it the Golden Ticket Award for Best Wooden Coaster for 7 consecutive years. This coaster is Phoenix at Knoebels, and today's video will highlight how it has earned the title of Best Woody on Earth. Hello everyone, welcome back to TH Designs. Today we are doing another recreation video. I've been on a little bit of a hot streak with these. These are probably my favorite videos to make. I just love recreating coasters. And specifically in today's video we are talking about a coaster that has earned the reputation as quote-unquote the best wooden coaster on Earth. It's a coaster maybe some of you aren't familiar with, but also very likely that you do know it because relative to coaster enthusiasts, this coaster is pretty iconic and pretty legendary, and for some, totally worthy of the title. For others, less so. Today we're going to talk about the history of this coaster while we build it, and talk about what has kind of earned it that title, what has kind of earned it that reputation, what is this coaster, and what is it doing in the middle of Pennsylvania, and why is it winning 7 years in a row, earning the title of best coaster in the world, best wooden coaster specifically. So as per usual, we're going to start off with a little bit of history to kind of get the grip of what this coaster is, who made it, when was it built, how old is it, yada yada yada. So this coaster was built by Herbert Schmeck and PTC, that's Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters. That's a manufacturer that works on the classic trains that you see on this coaster. They built this coaster in 1947, and it did not open as Phoenix at Knoebels, which is not a shocker. Most of these old wooden coasters, like we just saw with Wild One, typically did not start where they currently are. They usually were built somewhere else, that park closes, and they're rebuilt somewhere else, and that's exactly what happened here with Phoenix. It opened as the Rocket at Playland Park in San Antonio, Texas, so quite a distance from where it currently lies. That was opened in 1947, so this coaster technically is pushing 80 years, which is incredibly impressive. The park closed in 1980, and we saw the owners of Knoebels look at this ride and say, hey, I think that would be a great addition to our park. How much do you want? I believe it was 1.5 million. Yes, according to my notes. They bought it in 1983-ish, and it opened a few years later, 1985, in Knoebels in Elysburg, Pennsylvania, quite literally the middle of nowhere. This park is not very far from where I live, but somehow, some way, I've never actually been on this ride. I have some family members that have, and the reputation does hold. But I've actually never been on the best wooden coaster in the world, despite it being only like an hour and a half away from me. But since the 80s, since this park opened, it's just slowly been racking up credibility, and that comes with the layout, which you see me building right now. What makes this coaster so special, because it is only 78 feet tall, the drop's only 70 feet, it only has 3,000 feet of track, only 45 miles per hour, because these stats aren't all that impressive. When you look at the Beast at Kings Island, that has way more length. I think it even is faster and taller. You look at the Voyage at Holiday World, Wickerman at Alton Towers, Mystic Timbers. I mean, that's just in Hades 360. That's just to name a few. Really, when it comes to looking at a coaster on paper and stats, this coaster is blown away in many categories. So why is it earning the best coaster in the world? And when you're looking at the layout, you see all these bunny hop hills, and I think that has a lot to do with it. This coaster knows what it does in its layout, and that's to give the rider incredible airtime. You see 2 strips of just back-to-back-to-back bunny hop hills, and that creates an experience where you're constantly be thrown out of your seat. And that's something that's beloved by many people, and I think on top of that, I think there's a lot of appreciation that this coaster is as old as it is, and it's so smooth, it holds up so well. Yes, it's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, but the middle of nowhere Pennsylvania is more often than not very beautiful, so the scenery around this coaster is quite lovely. You'll see me actually do that in this video. There are a lot of things going this coaster's way that maybe are immeasurable for most coasters, and all in all, it creates this really charming experience. I mean, you see that little strip of track before the lift hill. I mean, that's an entire indoor section. I'll include a little POV so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. That's very unusual, so it has a lot of character to it. I think when a coaster's around this long and it's held together so nicely and taken such great care of by a park like Knoebels, I think there's a lot of respect for that by the community. We saw in 2005 it got the Coaster Landmark designated by ACE, the American Coaster Enthusiasts. I also want to note that I mentioned that this will probably be RMC'd in a future video, and I do intend on doing that because it's just so fun to do. But I want to mention that it's purely hypothetical and purely conceptual. There's some people in the comments that are not very happy about the idea of RMCing, especially coasters like Thunderhawk and Wild One, which are so historic. I just want to make sure that it's aware that it's just a concept. I actually went to school for historic preservation, so I have a ton of recognition and appreciation for sustainability and longevity when it comes to these coasters, keeping these around for as long as they can in their current state. I just love RMC and what they do with these coasters, like Texas Giant, like the old Mean Streak, like the old Hurler. What they do to these coasters to preserve them when they can no longer be kept, I have a lot of appreciation for it, and seeing what these layouts can turn into when they use steel is just fun for me. So I just wanted to kind of clear that up. This coaster, I imagine we will do it with. This coaster, unlike Wild One and unlike Thunderhawk, will not have a layout that is against what typical RMC conversions do. This one will be awesome, especially with the priority of airtime on this layout. I think the RMC conversion, whenever that's done, will just be phenomenal. Probably the best one we've done thus far. With that said, I am really curious what your guys' thoughts on whether this is the best wooden coaster in the world. Like I've kind of alluded to, there are some serious contenders for that title out there. I just named a few of them. There's a list that could go on forever, but for 7 years straight, this coaster was decided as the best wooden coaster by the Golden Ticket Awards. And since 2011, the National Amusement Park Historical Association, actually their members voted this as the #1 favorite wooden coaster in the world since 2011, every single year. So this coaster, when it comes to pretty much every single trophy that a wooden coaster can win, it holds its own. And if you've been on this coaster, make sure to comment. I'm very curious what your experiences are on it. And if you haven't been on this coaster, what are your thoughts looking in from the outside? Does this look like it deserves that title when you have other coasters like the Voyage or Ravine Flyer 2, just to name a few? For me, I'm a sucker for airtime, so the fact that I've never been on this coaster despite it being pretty close to where I live is kind of a mistake on my part. I definitely got to get around to riding this. I mean, El Toro is out there too. I mean, El Toro is one of the best coasters in the world, not even wooden coasters, but that has not won the award because of this coaster in some time, which is fascinating. If you've been on this coaster, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have not been on this coaster, I'm really curious what your perspective is of this. I will get around to riding it at some point and I will let you know my thoughts. I'm a sucker for airtime, so I imagine that this thing will be right down my alley. All in all, as this starts to wrap up, you see me just finishing the station. When it comes to these videos, I just want to briefly cover the history. This one has a really nice narrative to it, along with most of the wooden coasters that I pick. I try and find something that tells a little bit of a story, and this one certainly does by winning an award 7 years in a row. But yeah, I love your comments asking for what coaster you'd like to see next, so keep doing that. Maybe I'll pick your coaster. And like I said earlier in the video, I just love recreating coasters, so this is a series I would love to keep going, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. I'm trying to slow down. The time lapse is about 4 hours in total of content. I try and trim these videos as much as possible for the average viewer, so you get to learn a little bit about the coaster while also seeing the ride being recreated. So with all that said, just like how we did with Thunderhawk and Wild One, let's cut over to the POV and cinematic. Something nice and short, nice little 15-minute video or so. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the build. There's a lot of charm when it comes to this coaster, so I think you guys will really enjoy it. And I think you guys will really enjoy the fall scenery and decorations. With that said, keep an eye out for our new videos coming out soon. We do have a Wheel of Wonders coming out soon. I know it's been a while. And with that, do take care everyone, and I will see you in the next video.